So I joke, I'm like, some people have like the BTS, like right behind the scenes, but it's usually like after an episode or something. I'm like, no, you have the like minute and a half it takes for me to hit go live on all these other platforms.
It looks
and maybe
like
call it a
my video
day.
is lagging a little bit,
Yeah,
but
we'll give it a second. Or at least I try. Okay, and so now maybe once I can see myself on this other page, I can start streaming to the big kid page.
I hope I don't need my phone because I don't know where it is.
Oh, maybe you need your phone. I don't know.
No,
Unless, I mean,
it.
sometimes I've needed my phone because I like totally, like, I think I was telling you this is a very authentic and we learn together sort of stream where I was like, oh, you can't hear me? Like, thanks. I'm glad my friends were texting me. The sound was not working, right? I'm getting some pings, maybe. Oh, Matthew. I don't know if he's listening. That's a good idea. He's got an idea for a show topic. That sounds really good. So again, it's like the preview countdown. I think this is like, I don't know, you're probably too young, but back in the day I would watch Oprah and there'd be like that one little snippet in between the commercials where you're like, they're talking. Like, this is your in between commercial footage. And if I'm cool, I should just be able to do, I don't know. This is getting cuckoo here. I'm supposed to be able to stream myself to my normal Facebook, and it worked last weekend, but who knows what's happening now. Okay, well, there's that. And then I should be able to hit this and go share, see if that works. But why I can't do it as me, but I can do it as Paradise, I don't know right now. I don't know. But let's see if it's working. Hello, everybody. Hello. Ooh, we got one person. I see one person. Is that you, Arlo?
I don't know.
Well, cool.
Possibly.
At least, hopefully, I made it. There's every time I turn around, hey, it's not your show, YouTube. You can have a different one, ladies and gentlemen, Coco and Chewy, right? It's a Tuesday where the technology changes. It really should be Tuesdays with Tori and all her technology troubles.
Right, Technology Tori Tuesday.
Yeah, that would be where you just watch me blumble and we'll figure it out. So anybody who does watch all the time, right? There was like a StreamYard conundrum where Meta was like, no, now you can't stream to groups. And most of y'all that, care about what I'm blabbling about, at least I hope, are on an industry Facebook page, which is a private group. And now you're not allowed to stream there. But last week, I could just go to my normal Tori profile and then stream live there and then stream it to P3. But today I have to be Paradise. So let's see how this goes, guys. Welcome. It's Tuesday. If you didn't know, it's technical Tori Tuesday of troubles with her friend Arlo.
Apologizing in advance that I'm lagging.
No, it's cool. Again, I was saying it's an authentic show where we figure out, how much high definition your bandwidth can take, quite literally.
Exactly. That's how you know it's professional.
Right. So anybody who hasn't seen the show or is just showing up, welcome. It's Tuesday, where I'm Tori, and I was working in the lubricants in the retail B2B sort of adult industry we have here. I worked for a lubricant company for 8 years, and I thought I was pretty, I didn't know everything, but I knew a decent amount of things. And then all of a sudden I jumped into a path of focusing more on condoms with lubricants, and come to discover there's so much information that is not misinformation or wrong information, but it's also not easy to get to, nor is it easy to understand. So I decided I was tired of people not talking about what I wanted to talk about, because I feel like if I didn't know these things, and I'm in the industry of almost 10 years, how is anybody else supposed to know? So here we are. And now it's kind of just expanded where my joke is where I bring in the microphone closer. It's like, I speak into the ether. This is your ASMR. And sometimes the ether comes back and beautiful people like Arlo, who we had a great time. And we'll talk about it here in a minute. But it's also, the show's kind of expanded into a platform for anybody else that might be going through things in business, especially in our kind of specialty retail market, right? So things like how the hell I'm figuring out this web stream. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a friend come on that's maybe going to walk us through kickstarting. So in the spirit of kind of trailblazers and having a platform for everybody else, I'm gonna hand the cute microphone over because yours is awesome too. I know you were like you were gonna make one.
Don't tell anyone.
No, you know what? It's just you can't let things stop you. And again, another point of me figuring out a StreamYard stress is like
exactly, as long as you can hear me, I'll keep talking.
Right? You gotta show up. Don't let that excusey voice like get you out of using the energy. Because come to find out, I guess your brain's set up to be a miser. I really had no idea, but it is. Anyways, we'll just kick it off then. It's Tuesday, and if I can figure out how to stream one more time in a sharing, that's going to be awesome. We'll do it. But Arlo, I kind of just wanted to give you a minute in our very long introduction to kind of give everybody a chance to say what's up and tell us your story a bit.
Fantastic. Well, since it is Tuesday, it's Testosterone Tuesday for me. So it's when I do my hormone replacement therapy. And when it comes to being involved in this world of education, this world of understanding, I have been invested in it since I was like 7, probably. Whenever you live with somebody who doesn't understand gender expression, who doesn't necessarily support you as you're transitioning and trying to meet that need of who you are inside. I remember saying things to my parents whenever I was really young, and they were still like, how are they? What? And so whenever I got into college and I started to have more access to resources, I was actually able to join different clubs and learn all about that extra stuff. And one thing about me and my brain is I'm very spongy. Whenever it's something that I'm very passionate about, I just don't forget the information. And so whenever it's such a complicated information base, whenever there is so much and it is changing constantly, I consider myself to be a really helpful resource, as well as it is so important to me that I can help people in ways that I never had help.
Oh, that's awesome. Any just off the top of your head, I'm a big fan. If you hadn't known now, one of my other favorite sayings is if you don't know, now you know kind of situation, or
absolutely,
nothing changes if nothing changes. So I'm definitely with you on this whole the more, what is it? What is it? The more you know. I know that sounds cheesy, but being in a partnership together is very important for kind of the change in the flow of what's going on in the industry.
Absolutely,
can't make anything better if you don't learn about it, I think.
Exactly. Education is that front line, and we're really deprived of that in the culture that we live in.
Oh, that's I could go on a whole other tangent on and that's another episode, but
another episode,
right? Do you want to tell everybody kind of how our lives passed just really quickly? Because I want to gush about your Condomology page at some point, and just all the education or the passion you put into educating yourself, I guess, so that you can kind of do the same as right? You're not like, I suffered, so I'm gonna make sure you suffered. You're like, no, I figured something out. Let me share.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to add, one of my favorite sayings is that if you don't know the answer, it's not a stupid question. If you do know the answer and you want a different answer, it was a stupid question. But we got to meet at a work event, and I got to show you a training resource that I made called Condomology. Apparently, I'm the only person that I know who grew up with the book series, Dragonology, Piratology. It was like this whole thing. So that's what I named it after. And then nobody knows what it is.
No, that's so cool. I actually asked Arlo if anyone's curious. I have it, and I'm like trying to sprinkle some of the Tori flavor in there. But I was like, would you mind? I'm totally going to credit Arlo. And I'm like, we're just going to turn this into a blog, because the fact that you went out and nobody handed you that resource, right? We just met this year. So I
absolutely.
know I've just started to be in the condom path for a year and a half, and my mind has been blown. But you went out and found all that. Like, tell me about your journey, and just kind of, and not a lot of people want to go do that extra work. So I guess I'm also just impressed. So clap, clap, clap.
Yeah. So I am a educator at heart. I grew up with people who needed me to be able to articulate my feelings so that they were able to understand me, that they weren't afraid of me and my language. And so that has followed me, especially into education, because I work really hard to explain things in ways that a lot of people understand. And because whenever I learn information, I want to share it. I want to share it so much. And so whenever I am learning about something, whenever I know that there are questions about something, if I get asked the same question 3 times, that means that the information is not out there. So whenever it came to supporting the training of people that I worked with, one of the best ways to learn is be able to read something and then talk about it and then actually engage with it. But a lot of times you get asked the same question over and over again. But whenever it comes to questions about condoms, people don't have the answers. What's the difference in sizes?
You've even gotten, like, honestly, the questions, because I don't know what's happened. I'm just commenting on it, right? I'm not blaming anybody, but it's almost like condoms are just like kind of shoved in the corner. Like, you need to have them, but people really just know about maybe 1 or 2 brands, and not that there's like so many more, so much more that a condom can offer you. And you should be asking questions and want to expect more from sort of like pleasure and safety don't need to be mutually exclusive. Blech.
Absolutely.
I was trying to pull up, sorry if you guys are hearing the ding. I wanted to, because I figured out how to screen share. I was trying to find the Condomology, because it's super fun. We might be able to point out some points, but sorry, didn't mean to distract. Go on, Arlo.
So when it comes to those questions that so many people have, but whenever you're learning about an entire industry of products, that it's something that falls very low, because everybody knows what a condom is. Everybody knows what it's for. You buy it at the CVS.
But do they, right? Is it almost like, it's almost, yeah, you're expected. Like, we all know how to pay our taxes, but do we?
Didn't learn that in school.
No, you didn't. So I was like, there shouldn't be any shame in not knowing any of this stuff, but it seems to be hard. I got a kind of sales tool sort of tip from someone who's been buying from Paradise, for a very long time. And the number one tip he had was, when you're behind the counter, and especially if you're femme presenting, make sure you ask, especially somebody who may be, more masculine presenting, if they need the condoms, because a lot of, some men out there don't want to ask the maybe cute girl behind the counter about the condoms. So you got to offer. And I was like, that's so interesting, but it works. Like, I mean, make sure you ask anybody 100%. But, I could see where a lot of people, there's you might be in a store with a plethora of toys, but that doesn't mean somebody is necessarily still that open about asking anything that they don't know, right? Like I'm super scared of stuff that I don't like 100% know, like triggers my anxiety.
Absolutely. And a lot of people feel that way. And so whenever you are addressing this information, that of course you know what a condom is, of course you know how it works, of course you know how to put one on without breaking it, that people have that fear to ask because that's a failure on their part. Why didn't they learn this super basic information? And so one of the things that I do in my education on a day-to-day is encourage people that not only is that question important, but them being educated and knowing that they're educated is one of the things that's going to keep them safest in the world. Whenever it comes to wearing condoms, and especially when it comes to buying condoms, people don't want to ask. They just want to be like, I'm going to grab a box, I'm going to figure it out.
Well, and what is that? Is it just like we're so like, at least me, I'm like, is it decision fatigue? Is it stress? Is it fear? I'm not sure, but I'm the same way. There's like so much of me that's like, I'll figure it out later, but that also doesn't work. That's like half-assing it, which never works out right either.
Exactly. One thing, this is kind of something that we see in our culture as an overall. So like as a completely different example, whenever I worked at a cheese counter, there was this expectation that you knew about cheese. And if you didn't know about cheese, it's super embarrassing. And so whenever people would come up and they clearly weren't quite sure whatever they were looking at, I would immediately reach out and be like, hey, here's a cool fact about that. Would you like to learn anything else?
I think they call that, right, like making sure you're asking the correct probing questions and not just hi, can I help you find anything? That's like a yes or no, right? You want to keep something very open-ended and be very approachable with it, right? And of course, yeah, being knowledgeable. I've been selling for a very long time now, if you count like, you know, my teenager career. And I can't sell anything that I'm not confident in. So even if it's just like 2 or 3 testimonies, maybe a little bit of product knowledge, but that helps me want to talk about that product that much easier, right? So I can imagine condoms are the same on the floor, right?
Absolutely.
Plus, when was the last time anybody saw a sizing chart? Like, you don't even find them in a CVS. Or if you walked up to a pharmacist, I dare someone go ask a pharmacist, like, help me size and figure out what condom. They'll have no idea. They'll just read the marketing, which, as we all know by now, you can't follow the marketing, right?
It's a little bit of a stroke of your ego. There's this concept that, because we see videos all the time of people like putting on a condom like it's a beanie, putting it on like it's hosiery, like it absolutely can stretch, and we have to respect the fact that it is always going to fit. But one of the things that becomes important whenever we are understanding and we're respecting everybody who is involved, that if it sits too tight and it really hurts for you to use, then you're not going to want to use it. And that's going to lead into a whole different level of difficulties.
Right. Well, and just, I know we've talked about it before, the concept of a lot of people are like, oh, maybe I don't want to assume someone's size, or, I'm maybe in a state where I'm still, figuring out things about what I want from my partner. And, some of my actions may be performative. It's like, no, take the time to be vulnerable and lean into that. Like it's a really great opportunity for people to connect and start that really raw path of communication that's so important for the rest of your, foreseeable, pleasurable life.
Absolutely. Especially since it is Pride Month, we want to be able to celebrate the asexual people and people who are on the asexual spectrum. And those people may never have the interest to engage in a situation in which they would need a condom. But despite that, everybody should be educated, because there will be somebody in your life that you need to be able to support. There will be somebody in your life who doesn't have the answer. And if you're just like the cool ace friend who knows everything about sex, then you're going to be a resource people are going to reach out to.
Or just if you run into me or someone as amazing as like Arlo, I've unfortunately, it's happened in our industry, but I'm like, hey, do you want to go home with some condoms? It's like, nah, I don't use them. I was like, great, but you might not, like, I guarantee you know someone in your community or in your space, like you've got a niece and nephew, a neighbor that doesn't have access to the fact that like we're here, or we've got big trade shows coming up, and we can hand you these free things, right? It's like, it just needs to be a normal part of the conversation. If you came across free sex toys, if whether or not you use them, you probably would figure out a place to put them, right? It's like, when do we not get excited about condoms? This is Soapbox Tuesday edition.
Absolutely. I'll actually see a lot of people who don't use a lot of toys themselves have them displayed on shelves. I absolutely have several displayed on shelves, because there is so much mechanically fascinating technology in the world of sexual health and wellness, especially when it comes to sex toys. And that's where you get so much misconception, because we have an understanding about electronics. We have an understanding about how price points change the quality of them. But like, I just saw this toy for $29.72 on AliExpress. Why is it $200 here? And it's like, that's because you're not getting the same thing. Have you seen those videos where it's like,
what happened to you get what you pay for? I'm pretty sure that does still exist.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know, I've worked for a manufacturer before, so I've seen how a lot of these companies, or at least, from my perspective, how you have to cost out some of these things, right? I know there was a time in my life where I didn't quite understand the sort of whatever, like the cost right? Just because maybe a manufacturer makes something for 60 cents and the consumer is buying it for 10, doesn't mean that it's like, oh, if only you could just make it this price. So it's like, no, you really can't, because now everybody's racing for the bottom, and you're cutting out jobs from people, not just from the manufacturer, but from the distributors to the retailer, right? Like, everybody's got to eat.
Exactly. Whenever it comes to running any kind of business, you have to be able to balance, how can I make sure I have a consistent customer base, and how can I actually support my business and continue to make all these purchases that I have to make.
It doesn't sound easy, which is also why I don't own a business. Sorry, we went into a tangent, but look, I figured it out. I'm screen sharing. Look at how great the Condomology. Like, we can maybe read it in a minute if you want, but I have it up if we want to share it in a bit.
Yeah. So that is the thing that I made. And so it's a quick reference, not only for whenever you are learning about it for the first time to just reinforce all the information, but also be able to double check, because you're going to get asked a question that I know I learned and I have no idea what the answer is.
Oh my goodness. I focus just most of the time on contacts, condoms, whatever I'm selling today, I guess. And I still forget, right? Like, it's like, wait, that was Skin Premium or Skin Elite, or no, that other one was a point. Yeah, it's just sometimes there's a lot of information out there. It's okay to write it down, and it's okay to say, let me double check, right? Like, all the time. Doesn't matter who you're talking to. I would rather tell somebody that, like, I think this is it, let me go check my reference, than just be like, yeah, I know what's happening. Oh, it's going to come bite you in the ass too.
Absolutely. whenever it comes to supporting people's education, you want to make sure that you're never giving the wrong answer, because that's going to impact everything in the future for them. Even if they're immediately like, oh, well, that's wrong, then they're going to start to doubt this resource that they just reached out to because they gave you wrong information.
Well, and then again, there's a lot of not easy to find information or wrong information out there. So be kind, I guess, would be my like hashtag there, or star asterisk. Like, okay. And like a lot of people, again, they don't know what they don't know. I've heard so many interesting, I don't want to call it like wives' tales or like myths, right? Condom myths out there that I'm like, no, that's an interesting one. I'll look into that, but you can't blame anybody for, people hearing what they've heard and they've not heard, the correct education.
Absolutely. So I made the resource so that people have the education, and they always have the education. Fortunately for me, when I get asked a question, I do know the answer. But I understand that that's something that the majority of people simply aren't able to keep in their brain all at the same time. And because I do think that the way that I speak becomes a helpful understanding for people that I work with, that I really want to write things that are in my voice, that are in the way that I would explain it. And so the condomology that I put together has like, here's these basic information, here's these questions that you should know the answers to. And whenever you don't know the answer, that's awesome. Now you know what the answer is.
Right here, I'll put it back up. We can read like our favorite passage, maybe. What's one of the most awesome things when you wrote this? This is like the raw one, the original one, because we're gonna work together later and make it a cute blog. Once, welcome to the Tori show. She's sales and marketing director of like an actual like other place too. So we'll get there, guys. Dreaming. Thanks for hanging on. But I do plan. Arlo and I want to do like a little meetup kind of thing, collab. I guess that's the real world word, and stick it on the website. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Whenever it comes to like my favorite parts about writing this, it was all of it. It was making sure that I'm covering all that information and having it all there in the same place. But probably the types of condoms that were up at the top were the most interesting for me to write, because there are so many types of condoms. I had to kind of like put it into just a couple categories, but I could have split it up into so many categories.
Yeah, no, it's really trust me. I've trying to keep it simple, but sometimes it's really easy to go down a rabbit hole, right? Especially when it comes to, the difference between something like snug and standard and large. But, the marketing and those companies don't necessarily need to compare themselves to anybody else. So it's hard, right? Sizing for me is what like blew my mind. I know I talk about it all the time, but it's insane.
You actually got to teach me more solid understanding of the sizing difference in condoms. I had like, as you can see, I had like a pretty solid idea. And I think the
this is beautiful. And again,
size down was actually something directly from you.
Yeah. Well, no, as I'm saying, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And it's stuff that like you hands on, saw that needed to have attention. No, it'll be fun. We're gonna turn it into something, when I can get the website up and moving again.
I've got so many resources that I can send you. Like, I just want to talk to myself.
Oh, hey, send them away, send them over, because, I dream, again, manifesting, and I might have told you last time we got to chat, the website, the Paradise website anyways, I want to have like, almost like a sizing chart at the end of every product that's like, here's the texture, if there is one, here's the shape, here's the size, here's the width, here's the girth, here's, like the width in like, the nominal width, if we can provide it and stuff like that. So people can really make the most informed decision that they need.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
like
one of
not
the
that
ways
every
to
consumer is going to go there, but just so anybody could look it up and be like, ta-da.
Yeah, exactly. when it comes to encouraging people to seek more education, I'm always like, go to an official website, find their blog page. If you try and Google it and you get that Cora answer, it's like, maybe that's right. Somebody thought it was right a while ago. It's like the question was asked like 7 years ago.
Do we still go to Quora though? Because I am like all about Reddit these days. And I know I'm like maybe tardy to the party, but I'm about it. It's so many, maybe just more amusing answers these days. But at least in my head, I'm like, those are real people, right?
They're always real people. Nobody else can ask those kinds of questions.
Well, I guess maybe the questions, but then I do feel like there's a secret strategy, different marketing whatever episode we could do where it's like I feel like there's a strategy of some sort of like robots or AIs like going on Reddit and randomly like, oh, that's your problem. I happened to order this item or did this, right? I swear, just like random people giving advice to Reddit people, and it like makes sense. I don't know.
Whenever it's like an AI or some other kind of like computer scam, it's always going to have a link in it because that's how they get you. And so whenever it's like, oh, well, I bought this, and then it's like this kind of sketchy link, then it's like, I don't need to buy from that website. But I may look into it.
Well, so this was one of my favorites here, just kind of like the condom safety. And I totally want to extrapolate this into something different where it was just like, hi, it's like condoms are not just pregnancy. Everybody's, all afraid, so to speak, or, unwanted pregnancy seems to be the main focus of using any sort of prophylactics. And it's like, no, remember that there are diseases out there. I don't always just hand over my children or my heart to strangers. Basically not protecting yourself is opening you up to all these diseases right now. People are just saying it. I'm going to say it because I'll be your crotchety grandma speaking on the wannabe webcast as she learns her technology. You got to make sure that you're not messing around, guys.
Well, you have to be so careful whenever it does come to those like disease and infections that you can spread to other people. People don't get tested regularly. It again is kind of this thing where it's like kind of embarrassing, is like, oh, you had to get tested. Like, what were you doing? And it's like, it's been a year since I got tested.
No, like, and I don't know what we could do about it, but we really should knock off. I mean, lots of shame in people's lives, but definitely that where it's like you don't want to have an open conversation about your health. When did we stop just not disrespecting ourselves, but our partners too, right? And then, if we want to get down the rabbit hole, things like syphilis, right, are coming back, and congenital syphilis is affecting, children, babies that haven't even been born because people don't know that they have them. Because it's easier in some cases to get, plan B than it is to get a condom. That won't necessarily, save you from any sort of syphilis. So again, it's access. We could go down the rabbit hole. See, I'm already doing it.
I would actually love to read this condom safety paragraph that I wrote because I do think it's lovely and concise.
No, I love it. Go for it, please.
So condoms are first-step contraceptives to prevent pregnancy and ideally are used with another form of contraceptive. Condoms prevent the transmission of STDs and STIs, and dental dams prevent orally transmitted infections. Multiple condoms should never be stacked. It does not make them safer.
I get that question too. I'm glad you did.
And the friction between them causes them to break. Always replace condoms when transitioning between oral, anal, vaginal. If like something happens and you're unsure, just replace the condom. And so whenever I see people who are thinking that they can get away with just one, it's like, do you maybe want to try once and then walk away? If you can't use the condom again, are you going to rely on that person to have a backup condom? And you never should. That's why everybody should carry condoms.
Well, and then insert joke here. I was like, they make them in a 3-pack, people. There's a reason, right?
Exactly. It's like, you're going to want a minimum of 3.
right? Or, on a good day, one doesn't break, or, please check your expiration, people. I will say that, right? But, here's a bad joke, right? I haven't quite figured it out. So, people forgive me, but right. Even if you're chilling with 3 out of 3 activities, you've got 3 out of 3 condoms for 3 out of 3 orifices. There you go. Have a good evening. But
exactly, and also double that in case you need to replace it and go back in the same place.
Right, and or even like your toys, people. Fingers, fingernails. You don't know what is underneath those acrylics. Sometimes, people. I guarantee it.
My first interaction with condoms when it comes to that expiration dates is I had just like a huge bag from Pride. I want to say 2018, maybe it was 2014, depending on when the time frame was. But anyway, and they were all expired. So my boyfriend and I were like, well, I guess we have to go to CVS, or we could try this less safe method, which is what we did.
Well, and it's you can be human. Everybody gets
absolutely.
It. We're totally fine. But also there's a part of me that's like, do you necessarily need to add the added stress of stressing out about making maybe a huge decision you didn't want to make because we just didn't check our expiration dates on the condoms?
Absolutely. And I should have checked the expiration date before I was like, I have plenty of condoms.
So this is, again, like, whatever, alert, a tip, right? And I try to tell everybody that I can, because I've seen them out there and I don't blame anybody, but make sure if you are on the floor of a retail floor, or you're even an e-commerce and you haven't done like a cycle count in a little bit, here's your reminder, guys. Condoms sometimes get forgotten as far as having an expiration because it's usually a longer one. It's closer to like 5 years. Yeah, and some of the cosmetics out there that's like 3. So, check your expirations, or make sure that if something is, coming up on a year of usage, reach out, put it on sale, figure out how you can move it around to the front of the store, because it's not going to do anybody any good. You just trying to sell it expired on shelf.
Exactly. And that's kind of another thing to consider, which is like, if maybe the condom's not going to break, did the lubricant go bad? The last sentence in here that's about the condom safety is that condoms are lubricated enough for placement. They are not a substitute for lubricant.
Oh my goodness. So I need to make this a banner. Like, say it again for the cheapskates in the back, because there is never enough lube for most. Like, there's lube on every nightstand, as Sex with Emily would say, because it's so important. Definitely is not enough to actually do whatever experience you're looking for. It is just for application, people.
And so many people don't understand that because, of course, it's a lubricated condom. And so when it comes to encouraging people to understand and to acquire lubricant, first you start with that information, and then you go, have maybe you noticed the beginning is the roughest part. Oftentimes, somebody has got some lubricant, but if you can't get to it yet, you have to apply some first.
And lube should not be shameful either. I know Absolutely. That's not necessarily this audience here, but again, I got 8 years in the old lubricant field on top of this. And a lot of times, one of the number one things people would tell me, just like in condoms, but they're like, yeah, what do you do? I was like, oh, I sell lube. Or can you recommend things? Oh, well, that's nice. I don't need it. Or, I'm plenty, whatever. Or he gets me, or he would be upset, or this person, they would be not happy if they didn't feel like this was something they could do themselves. And it's like, where did that come from? First of all, I don't remember any teacher, right, or educator that, like, in the public school system that was like, let's talk about lubrication, right? My OBGYN barely talked about it, and like make a whole other appointment and learn the things, right? So not only has like condoms and lube get shamed, it's no, it should be on everybody's night. It's just an enhancement, right? Can you be textured and flavored and tingly and all these things? No.
right? And wouldn't you want to?
Again, there's entire websites and stores, businesses and technology dedicated to things feeling different. So a condom feeling different shouldn't be bad. Question mark? I don't know. You guys tell me.
One thing that I wanted to get to today is to whenever it comes to sexual health and wellness and how that affects gender affirmation.
No, absolutely. No, and you're keeping me on track. See, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Let's catch up. Absolutely. We're very excited and privileged to have you come and talk about this, because I've asked maybe other influencers out there or other retailers that maybe want to share some thoughts about this. And sometimes it's a topic not a lot of people either have any experience or, are willing to kind of talk about. So yeah, let's go for it. We wanted to kind of talk about what you wanted to speak to gender marketing and kind of sexual wellness, right?
Yeah. So whenever it comes to involving yourself in this sexual health and wellness world, there are a lot of preconceptions. A lot of people still believe that the female orgasm doesn't exist.
The orgasm, that's like a baby one. Those exist. That's not enough, people. If you've got that going on, that's there. It gets better from there. Let's not have an orgasm.
I encountered somebody who associated the ejaculation of fluid to be an orgasm. So if that never happened and they had never experienced that because their body would not typically do that, they thought that they never had one.
That's not true, correct?
Exactly. And so that's just another layer of misunderstanding, because there is also this assumption that people have either done that self-exploration by themselves, or they're waiting for the person to teach them that who expects them to already know. And so whenever it comes to seeking out those resources and making yourself comfortable in a world that feels stigmatized, when it comes to feminine presentation, femininity in the world of sexual health and wellness, we are, as a culture, so behind in our understanding and our education. And so while there is the majority of the sexual health and wellness world is focused on the female body as it is born. And so there is a lot of stuff that is super generic, because obviously every shape is the same. And then you have companies who are like, no, everybody is shaped differently. That's the point.
I was going to say that's very interesting. What additional influence do you see on some of those consumers maybe that you've been working with? Like, how does that affect their choices?
I have people all the time who are like, I want this one because it looks pretty. And if that what makes you feel confident picking it up, that's fantastic. I've had people seek out
that
toys
would be me.
because
I'd be
of
like,
their
sparkle
color.
Tori, it's armor. I'm like, yes, I need the pretty. Okay, thank you. But I joke it's because I'm in a leadership role. I'm like, yeah, I got to be like super femme in some ways, because I feel super masculine doing, in my head the deciding and all the things, right? That sometimes I'm like, I just need to, for me, over exaggerate my pretty sparkles.
And so like we have some toys that are pearlescent and nice and light and baby pink. And so whenever people are like, I associate with femininity, that feels like something that if I owned it, that if somebody else knew that I owned that they would not judge me for it. And once you build confidence into that area, then it's like, oh, I actually don't care what anybody thinks, because I'm going to have an awesome time with this toy and you're just missing out. And so whenever it comes to the toy adaptation to real bodies, with the recognition that stuff has been really generic for a really long time, that people are going to have needs at every single size from the entire range of sensitivity, that those are some of the most important things to be able to offer a large amount of. There is a lot of the penis marketed toys that have the expectation that there is enough of a length and there is enough of a firmness to be able to use the toy. Because of course that's everybody. And of course that's not. So when it comes to toys that are specifically designed to allow for people of any size and lift to be able to use them, that makes sure that those people feel like they're not broken because an entire company out there put effort into making something for you.
It's okay to still be in your niche market. I know times have been the times, and a lot of companies are trying to branch out and cast a wide net. And I get it. You got to eat. That's okay. But it's also okay to just like do what you do well. Not everybody can provide everybody with everything. You're going to lose some quality in there.
Exactly. And we need to be able to understand that and respect that as a whole. So when it comes to those masculine marketed products with that expectation that there is this very ideal, unaffected male body as it was born. And that's another thing that we run into, which is where there is a very, very small collection of products that are designed for people who have bodies that are different. So it's Testosterone Tuesday for me. I've been taking testosterone for 4 years cumulatively.
For you. Hold up. Keep talking. Sorry.
For 4 years cumulatively, and I took a 2-year break in the pandemic because everything was changing, and I was like, I don't want to make changes if I don't know what I'm doing.
I was gonna say, could you get any like attention or support? Like, it's hard enough to just schedule a primary like yearly visit for nothing, and then now add all the things. It's never gotten better, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I have the same GP that I had since I was born. And I love her. She is such a wonderful person. But whenever I was trying to explain, can I please get this written permission to seek out gender affirmation resources, that she was like, I don't actually have any of those answers. And because I don't, I can't do any of that support for you.
It's not like an easy thing. It was just sad. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's again another episode, just trying to figure out the medical care that you need and finding somebody that has that sort of education and specialization is very difficult to find.
Absolutely. And so whenever we have this large majority of visible trans people who are representing themselves as masculine, we get a lot of representation of that in the industry. I very much believe that there is a complete 50-50 between transgender people who are assigned male or female at birth. But there has been this dialogue for a long time that it's just women. And so for any gender representation that is not, I am a man, it's woman light. And so that's negating all of their identity, their validity. And so whenever, because you're either a man or a woman, clearly. And so whenever you are somebody who is assigned male at birth and you have grown up in that culture, lots and lots of people who are going to tell you that you shouldn't do this because you're going to lose so much privilege. there is this concept of
Interesting.
toxic masculinity
No, I was
where
like, it's a lot of
you
good
have to be macho.
words you've got there. Very nice. Yeah, no, it's like a lot of aha moments. Sorry, I was like, keep going.
You have to be macho. You have to be super strong. And that is not, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. It is simply misogyny squared. If you being associated with a woman in femininity is so bad in every single respect, why are you degrading women like this? And so whenever a lot of people start to explore different genders, different presentations, especially whenever they are assigned male at birth, that as soon as they start representing femininity, well, you're a woman. So be more of a woman or just man up. And so I have the wonderful pleasure of knowing several people in my life who have experienced pretty much the same thing. And because of that, they were not able to support themselves and transition until they were in their 30s. Because when you get to your 30s and you've started to solidify yourself into understanding who you are and you have a foothold in the adult world, then it's like, again, I don't actually care what you think. I'm going to find my happiness.
Or I'm going to spend all the resources I've just spent the last like 15 years of my adulthood on getting those like answers for me, right? I'm sure it's very costly for a lot of people.
And so that rolls in very intensely to the negativity that follows trans women. Because they are failing this expectation of men. And that is a very bad thing according to our culture. And so whenever it comes to the representation of trans femininity within sexual health and wellness, it is almost non-existent. I have a handful of toy recommendations for people who have been on estrogen, and so their body has changed, and so they can't use traditionally male toys, traditionally penile toys, but none of the clitoral, the vulva toys were designed for them. Because there's no thought, there's no care into that community.
Well, it's pathetic enough that a lot of the research we have for even just the, quote unquote, average female body is from the 70s, like just this century. The bodies have not been studied enough, period.
And as hormone replacement therapy has become more accessible, we're starting to learn more about how bodies do change whenever they're taking them. That change is not a bad thing, and that teaching the body to grow differently is just simply a different path that the body will continue to grow.
Yeah, that whole nature, nurture, or no, this could get really cool with the whole, this is a whole other episode. We can't get too that far down the rabbit hole because I do have to pick up my kids at some point. But no, finish your thought. Because I did want to ask you about accessibility as well. I think that was on our agenda. And then we can shameless plug.
So lastly, whenever it comes to the transgender focus in sexual health and wellness, the vast majority of products that are available are for the masculine, the male presentation, because that is respected the most within our culture.
Or even that's all people know. So they just kind of give you that your bias, whether you know it there or not, is like, oh, that's what I know. That's what I should respect because it's just been ingrained, right? It's just the society people have grown up with. Not saying it's right, but a lot of people have inherited that.
And so something that I have spent a lot of time doing is finding these products that were not designed for me and my body, but work really well. And because they weren't designed for me, they're way more available. One thing, this is kind of like a little bit of a toe into finding those gender affirmation wear and our expectation of what masculinity should be in our culture, that it is so hard to find an uncircumcised packer. The representation of that body that has been unaltered, often altered at birth, because that's so ingrained in our culture, that is just simply, well, of course that's what you want.
Well, and companies function on numbers. So if that is like what our society is deemed the average or the norm, then a lot of companies are just going to make the decision that makes sense to them. They look at the numbers and be like, oh, well, do we cater to, 5% of the population, or do we cater to 85% of whatever it's going to look like? And again, that's where it's like, no, just niche marketing can work, right? Not everybody needs to be fighting for that 90%. Stay in your 10%. Exactly.
And yet there are, 20, 30 websites that I've looked into for transmasculine gender affirmation. And I found like 3, 4 really good ones for trans feminine a gender affirmation.
I think you were asking for a non-circumcised packer, and I think my friend Cherie Tantis, I think she has one. I think I saw
I actually got to see the Tantis and the Gender X one today.
Oh, okay, it was neat. I think they have, just because again, if you didn't know, I was like, ooh, we can help. Tantis has one. Yay.
I absolutely love the brand Tantis. It offers a really nice, high quality, and they actually go for a very neutral presentation. Their coloration is more neutral. They don't have as many skin tones. They focus on a lot of toys that can support male sexuality. Again, that expectation of having a male body, which is just fine, because everybody has a rectum. Everybody needs to be able to have accessible resources for it. But the brand Tantis is very masculine marketed, because for those people, there is so much weakness and just wrongness associated with being able to enjoy that kind of pleasure.
Oh man, so many good. Just like, I'm like, oh, now we could do conversations on A, B, and C. Okay, but we do have to wrap up now. So I'm going to give you your minute to do your shameless plug. The dog's not even there anymore. I'm like, why am I thinking about dogs? And then leave us with any like quick words of wisdom. Because I told myself I got to keep these episodes to like at least an hour. I'm trying to keep them to like 45, but that's never going to happen when people are so interested.
Right? I could talk literally for hours about this.
This is great. We'll have to have you come back, or once we can figure out it's me. Apologize. Like, do our cute little like blog collab. Do a quick little like have you back and talk about the blog. That would be fun.
I think if there's one thing that I want to leave with as information with respect to condoms and seeking out sexual health and wellness as resources, find those professional resources, because those are the people who are there to respect you and have spent so much time learning how to respect people of all different shapes, sizes, all different origins, and be opening and welcoming to people who are representing something that they've never seen before. If you want to learn about what gender affirmation is, but you are somebody who is cisgender and is perfectly happy representing the gender that they were assigned at birth, then seek out a little bit of education. I think that everybody should have a gender journey. I think that everybody should question what they feel in the world, who they are most connected with, what communities, what social representation they are most connected with. And it is really important as somebody who rolls back around to being like, nope, I'm good. That they have an idea about what some people start with in their journey, which is little information.
I like
So
that.
seek out stuff that doesn't apply to you, because that is how we learn.
Right, be open to learning, be adventurous, stay curious.
They stay curious. No question is a bad question if you don't know the answer. And
Right.
It is okay to ask and seek the professional resources, because those are the people who have the answers, who are there to support you. And they are people who are more visibly available because they're representing a professional industry.
Love that. So I'm going to put up your cute banner again because I'm figuring out my tools. Is that the best place for people to reach you if they want to, get some more insights from you or get involved with some of the work you're doing?
I have not posted any of that kind of information on my Instagram. However, if people want to reach out to me there, it's a fantastic place. I do want to make a little comment, which is theoretically is spelled wrong.
Hey, I was like, tell me now.
And I totally abandoned you and did not read it out the spelling for you.
I was like, you know what? This is one of those days. Tell me now. Oh, that'll be perfect. So I'll edit and rewind this later. Right. Authentic show. It is what it is. Okay. I've had too much fun. I can't believe we spent like an hour talking about all the things, but it was great. There's just a lot of good perspective. And I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I had a really wonderful time. I would love to join you about a different subject, a different conversation, just be able to offer my insight, because I do have so much information, because I have learned so much that doesn't apply to me.
Just on the job.
Just on the job, just because I want to be able to have the answer whenever somebody doesn't know.
I love that. No, well, thank you again so much for being here. I'll send you like all the stuff in case you want some of this episode, because I'm learning how to do little clips and stuff like a grown-up.
Awesome.
But yes, let's talk about having you back. That would be so cool. If anybody else out there wants to get involved or has topics, reach out. Look, I'm cool. I'm figuring out some of my banners. Hold please. Oh, dang it. Timing is wrong. Look at that. There's my email. Ooh. So email me. Or look, I got a YouTube and it's just Tuesdays with Tori Tia. So not quite Tori. So if you guys want to go back,
which I absolutely love. I love that.
Oh, thank you. It makes me laugh. And again, the whole point, right, is just, I gotta amuse myself through this, right? We gotta, I'm trying to amuse myself through all of this, and maybe I'll inspire someone and we'll learn stuff, right? Like today. So reach out, guys, if you have any questions. We're here for you, and then I will see you next Tuesday.
Fantastic. Well, I will definitely